Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller. What a week. Oh my gosh. I feel like there has been so much energy clearing in my life. It's actually insane. So I was going through our kitchen things. I just redecorated for fall and I was going through our cabinets just to make it a little bit more accessible. I always find a little bit of audit here and there is so good for me just to have a place. Where are we at? How's it going? And I have cabinets, right? We all have cabinets in our kitchen, but some cabinets are better utilized as other things than what they're currently being used as. And sometimes you don't know how a space is going to work until after you've tried to use it for a couple days and a couple months, a couple weeks, a couple of the things. And I decided that there's a couple items that need to be moved around just a little bit. I needed to take a look at my shelves, take a look at where I had glassware stored. And if you remember from this past summer, I picked up a couple different place settings. And this was definitely heavily influenced by Vanderpump Villa, right? I love the chateau in the south of France. It's so beautiful. And I had a couple plans for a picnic meetup for my Golden Gal Network. If you're in the Kansas City area, give us a follow on Instagram. Would love to connect in real life. But so I had a couple things on my intentions list, right? I wanted to curate a certain aesthetic, a certain vibe, especially for summer. And a couple things shifted and I kind of took a different approach to my marketing plan, to my meetups. And I realized that two of the place settings that I purchased from a thrift store, right? I thrifted it, were not going to fit the aesthetic moving forward. And I always go through this conundrum of, okay, I bought it at a good price and currently I don't have a utilization for it. I'm not sure if it's going to fit. I do this often with clothing or, knickknacks or decor or whatever. Right. And I always ask myself, will I use this in the future? And if I get rid of it, is it easily replaceable? And I remember the very first time I asked myself these hard questions, and it was with multicolored leggings. So my sophomore year, I believe it was sophomore year of college, I had a pair of gold metallic leggings from high school for homecoming. And then I had a pair of fish net patterned leggings that we used for a sorority bid day. And I remember going through my closet and really not having space for it and thinking, oh my gosh, what if I go to a Halloween party and need these fish net leggings? They were leggings, okay, metallic as well. And they looked like fish scales. I was what if I want to be a mermaid? Or what if someone needs to borrow gold pants, right? Gold leggings. And I remember thinking, okay, they are taking so much space up in my mind and also in my closet. Is it worth it to hold on to this thing? And I realized that if I needed it in the future, I would repurchase it. And although I don't like to rebuy things, I always go back to the quote, everything you have ever been gifted or purchased in your life is still on this earth. So I always try to keep that intention because everything you touch, even when you throw it away, it is still on this earth. So I keep that in mind. but I'm like, you know what? It's holding a lot of like space in my drawer and I don't really wear them. And so I decided to donate them. And looking at these plates, I was reminded back to sophomore year of college, looking at these leggings, because that is like a unique thing, right? Like these leggings were bought for a costume, bought for a thing. Although like my gold leggings, I did wear a couple times to like football games. The fish patterned leggings, I had bought for bid day. And guess what? I have never needed a pair of gold leggings or fishnet leggings. Like it has been years now. And I think back to, if I didn't have the mindset of this is not serving me, I need to get rid of it. I need to donate it. I need to clear space for better things to come in. I could definitely still be holding on to those leggings. And I was looking at these dinner plates and this setting that I purchased. And although it was like such a good price, right? Like these were so beautiful. And when I purchased them, I really did love them. And I did go a little bit overboard, and I bought like my first setting, lovely, gorgeous, spectacular, right? And then I bought like 2 more settings and then like a spare dishes, right? And I thought to myself, you know what? Like I still have a vision for one of the sets. It has like these little delicate roses on it, and it was like a bigger set. And this was like in my second round of purchasing, and I can see like a outdoor scene with maybe a like metal, I always envisioned like a tea party and one of those like really heavy duty like wrought iron tables and chairs, and they're like swirly, super cute, super delicate kind of looking, but they're like steel or wrought iron. Like they're really sturdy. They're meant for outdoor use. I still have that vision, and I almost donated them as well. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to split my collection in half. And I still kept like the first dishes I got that was like this beautiful white, very like, they're white with a ivory scroll painting on them. Beautiful. And the other 2, I decided that it was time that they went somewhere else. Even though I've had them for a short time, only 4 months, I was moving them from like drawers to cabinet space, and I was moving around, and when I was originally purchased them, I thought, oh, like one day I'm going to have like a huge cabinet and I'll be able to display them and look at them. And I do love to romanticize my life, as in like, I'm going to pull out nice glass dishes for supper, for whatever. And I just decided this week that I was done having those like take up space in my cabinet. I have not used them for 4 months. I've used the other plates, but I haven't used those. And so I packed them up, and then I also got into my closet right here because, I have decided that I'm going to be doing my like college quilt. So I was in my closet in my studio, you know, my podcast recording area, and I have two yoga mats in there that I had originally purchased before I settled on my Lululemon mat when I first started yoga. And I was like, man, like I don't use these mats. And I took those to be donated at we have like a small organization in the town that I live in. And so I went and dropped them off. And guess what? It was so freeing, like to just clear the space, clear the air. I know that like how my cabinet is now like organized, I had better space and like it made sense and was more beautiful instead of like cluttered. I really try to have those like dopamine hits with my environment. So when I open up my like main cabinet, if you watch my vlogs on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. But I will have like my coffee area. So I have my beans, I have my like puck holder or whatever, like for your espresso. And I have my 2 hummingbirds that I thrifted on my retreat that I went on this past summer. And it's very aesthetically pleasing. At the top, I had like shoved some martini glasses from my birthday, but it really wasn't like a glass cabinetry. This was more like white china, not like glassware. So I like moved those over to the space that I cleared out. And honestly, like it was a small little thing and it took me no time to like drop it off. I did it in between like a meeting and I was like, oh, dropped them off. And I felt so good. One, because they do get another life. Like I originally purchased them secondhand or even third hand. Like you never know the life of an item. And if we take good care of the things that we have, but also are able to like donate to, you know, a good cause. I know ours employs like special needs individuals, so it's like giving them employment, and I think it's also a not-for-profit and all the good things. So I love to be able to do that. And also like someone might be looking for a themed dinner party and might be able to like buy these plates. I also saw on TikTok this thing where heirloom like dinner plates, they were making jewelry from them. So like their grandmother had a set or whatever, and then they like cut it into like little pieces and made it into like necklaces or rings. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm sure, because the world is big, but it's also so small at the same time. And I'm sure if I saw it, like other people saw it, and they might be like going to thrifts for dinner plates to like create their own little necklace or jewelry or whatever. So that honestly just like felt so good to clear out. And like I said, I have decided that I'm partaking on a sewing project. I've not sewn for a couple years. The last quilt that I made was for Garrett and I for his Christmas. I made him a denim quilt. And this quilt is so special because it's not only a denim from me, like it was old jeans that I had, old jeans that Garrett had, but also, this was when we were dating too, I asked his family members for denim, and like I put my dad's jeans in there, my mom's jeans in there. And so it really, and my siblings, like it is this super, super cool thing where it's denim from both of our families. And I sewed it together in like this little quilt, and it's really cute. And I love it so much. Quilts to me are very, very special. My mother made me a quilt for my wedding. Garrett's grandmother made us a quilt for our wedding. We also, like Garrett has 2 quilts that his grandma made for him, and just like having them around is really special. I remember at like a church auction, my little brother and dad entered in a raffle, and like, actually, I used this quilt today. They won it in a raffle and they gifted it to me. It's like our church raffle. I was with them. So we were, all together, and that's really special. So I literally took that blanket on a picnic today. And so it is so sentimental. And I feel like it's not super common for people to like sew quilts anymore. And I was taught at a young age how to sew. I loved crafting with my mom and my grandmother. And it's something that I really, really enjoyed as a child. And as we go into fall and winter, I always tell myself that I am going to like work on my projects. I'm going to be working on the things that make me happy and fill my cup and aren't necessarily like tied to social media. And when we started September, I made the commitment that I was going to put my phone, my laptop, and my iPad away at 6:30. So at 6:30, that's an hour and a half after I get off work, I should be done with all of my to-do on, online. And to be able to like literally close the laptop, close my iPad, and be so present in the moment. I need to have something to do, right? Like I'm trying to avoid the screen time. And so I thought making my t-shirt quilt would be a great way. I was inspired by Lala Sews on TikTok. It's probably been over a month and a half, 2 months, I found her. She was making this like really, really cute baby blanket. And it was so unique where she didn't like cut the baby clothes into patches. She instead like sewed around the baby clothes. It was really, really neat to look at. And I went to her page, saw that she did t-shirt quilts in a way that was like easily comprehensible. So I decided to lug out my tote, and it's much bigger than I remember it to be. My tote is literally as big as my wingspan and is like so tall, so deep. And so I was like going through my shirts and reminiscing honestly about like my college days, and there's a couple like t-shirts from like Garrett when we first started dating, and just like having those memories is so special. And so it's also like it's a quilt for me. And I know that sounds like self-centered. That's not what I mean. But the intention is so strong there. I feel like if I were to just like buy fabric and sew it together, I wouldn't be as committed. But this is like, I cannot get these t-shirts back. They are, of course, like if it's a bid day shirt from my sorority, other girls in my chapter might have had that shirt, but like, who knows where it's at? Everybody has their own plans with their own shirts, and it's not something that I can just like go out and buy. So I'm being so intentional with like my cutting and my ironing and being so present, like as I'm snipping away. It's been fun. It's been a blast. Like I really, really am enjoying it. I'm nowhere near done. I just, started this past week, but that's like another energy clearing thing because this tote has been in storage, and I love to declutter. It is my favorite thing. I go back to Bob Goff's Dream Big book. If you've never read this, you need to go out, you need to purchase it or listen to it or whatever, rent it from the library. Bob Goff is so inspirational, but in Dream Big, he talks about quitting something I think he tries to quit something every day, but it might be, I can't remember if it was every Thursday, like once a week he quits something, or if it's every day he tries to quit something, but because it frees up his brain space, it frees up his energy, it frees up his time, and he's able to like direct that to something that is truly more meaningful. And so like, just what can I clear out? What can I, quit so then I can say yes to something else? And I was going through my closet, and there was a couple sorority shirts that I haven't been wearing, but it didn't immediately go into my big bulky tote. And so I like needed to take them into storage. And when I was looking at the tote, I was like, it's time. It's time. I feel like I am mentally separated from college now. We are 4 years post-grad, which is absolutely insane, crazy. Just like the growth that I've gone through is insane. Like, lots of things in our life are incremental. And if we think of like schooling, middle school is up until maybe 5th grade. So that's like 5 years, but I don't know if you can really count like kindergarten as a grade. Maybe you can, but like first, second, third, fourth, that's like 4 years. And for me, like 5th grade is when we started to switch classes. So then you have like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and that's like 4 years. That's like middle school, right? And then 4 years for high school. You have 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and that's like your high school. And if you do go to college, it's your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, right? Of college. And like incremental for like 4 years, I feel like there's just such a shift. And also like September or going back to school is a shift. I feel like I'm so geared up in the same like mindset as school, because it's all right. Like there's back to school items, new notebooks, new calendars. Like that always gets me so excited. One, like my mother was a teacher growing up. And so I'm just like very much ingrained, like school is amazing. I love school. But for me, it's like pivotal. Like whenever it's August and September, I'm thinking back to school. I'm thinking, okay, like how can I really change my life in the next like 4 to 5 months? And I don't even realize that I'm doing it, right? But going through the t-shirts, I knew it was time to like cut them up. It's been 4 years since college. And so now I feel like I'm going into the next stage. I feel like, okay, like now it's 4 more years. Where is my life going to be? And how am I going to like be showing up as a person? How am I going to grow? And on one hand, that's like so exciting. And on the other hand, I'm like a little sad that like years are passing by, but like I know that it doesn't, I'm still a person. Like it's okay that I'm getting older. And I'm 4 years post grad. And so if I'm 4 years post grad, that means I'm 8 years post high school, right? Yeah, it's like kind of shocking to think about sometimes, or to think about like my age and how time like passes by. And I was watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Oh my gosh. It's kind of like rhymey. And so it's hard to say at times. But I've been romanticizing my life and I've been spacing out the episodes. So I watched, when did this come out? I think I watched the first episode like on the last Sunday. I watched the first episode. And I made the commitment that if I'm going to watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I want it to be on a big screen, because as a kid, like I looked forward to watching a movie on Friday night. Like I looked forward to like waiting all week, the anticipation building for like a movie that I was dying to watch, or like spending time with my family. And I think convenience and like getting that dopamine hit anytime I want. Like you can have a podcast playing, you can pull out your phone and scroll on TikTok, or like watch a movie in the morning, or watch a show. I don't know. Like I think that discipline and limiting like some of those really feel good things can make that feeling even more powerful, because we're delaying the gratification. And so for myself, I was like, okay, I got to watch it. I want to say it was last Saturday or Sunday. I got to sit down. I watched the first episode, undivided attention. I was literally sitting there, eyes on the screen. I did not have a cell phone. I had a little beverage. It was so great. It was so fun. But being able to watch it, I love watching beautiful women. Okay, this is why I love Selling Sunset. I used to really, really enjoy watching The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, and I just really enjoy the dynamics of other individuals. I like seeing how social situations turn out. I think it's really interesting, and human connection is like my favorite thing. So watching just different personalities talk to one another is really, really intriguing to me. I know some people think that it's like very surface level reality TV, but you can learn so much from watching reality TV. I think it is a fun pastime, but I don't necessarily want to like watch Vanderpump Rules is like one of them that has gone on for like many seasons, or like the Housewives of Orange County. That's something that like my mom watched when I was growing up, and I would like be so mad when she watched an episode without me. I was like, oh, how can I know what the girls are doing? Anyways, but watching them, like all of the women are in my age range, and to look at them and see like where they are in their life. So I'm 26, in 4 years I will be 30, which is a big age, right? And I'm not going to talk more about like the countdown to 30, because I feel like I put so much emphasis on 25, like a whole year earlier, that I didn't get to enjoy 24 as much. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to enjoy 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. But looking at these women, like they are in my age range. And so I'm looking at their life. I'm looking at the things that they're doing, how they're spending their time. And it's really, really fun. This past weekend, my cousin Brooklyn came over and I taught her how to make sourdough. And it was like kind of a surreal moment for me, because I left where my family lives. Like I grew up in Northeast Iowa. And so when I came for college back to Missouri, because I was born in Missouri and things, I was like separated from my sisters. And so I really, really miss like family being able to just like pop over. And I probably will never, ever get to experience that, which is sad because I have 3 sisters that I love with all my heart. I also have a brother who lives in Northeast Iowa. And so like to be able, she like texted me, she's like, hey, like, will you teach me sourdough? I was like, absolutely, come over tomorrow. It'll be a blast. It'll be so much fun. And we started sourdough at 2:00 because I had to teach yoga. I don't get home until like 1. And of course, like I knew I'd be delayed and I need to pick a flour and all the things, but we had a blast. And because I'm savoring the episodes, I have watched like the first one on Saturday or Sunday. And then this Friday, was it Friday? I forget when I actually got to watch the second episode. Maybe it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Or maybe it was like Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is. I waited multiple days before I could watch like the next episode. And so we rewatched it because Brooklyn had not seen any of the episodes. So I got to savor it even more and like pick up details by rewatching number 1 and 2. Because if you've ever made sourdough, it takes forever. It is the longest thing in the world. I had to prep my dough the night before. So like my starter, I had to like do a bulk feed. And then in the morning, I'm sorry. I had my little starter and my starter needed fed. Like I hadn't fed it in 2 days. So I fed my starter. Then first thing in the morning before I went to go teach yoga, I give it a bulk feed and I was waiting for that to like get activated. So when I got home at like 1:30, it was able to like then be made into dough. But you mix your dough and then you wait 1 hour before you can even do your first stretch and fold. And then it's 30 minutes in between for stretch and fold. So it's like stretch and fold, wait 30 minutes, stretch and fold, wait 30 minutes. But we were doing our stretch and folds. We did run to the thrift store like down the road. And I picked up like the cutest little picnic basket, another glass pumpkin. Like I said, because I cleared out the energy from my house, I felt like I felt more open to thrift shopping. I was like, oh, like I can thrift shop because I cleared space. I like got rid of the things that I wasn't using. So, Brooklyn and I spent the entire day together, but we were watching the show and we were analyzing it and it was so much fun. It definitely, like, I don't often have like friends over one-on-one, to my house because my dogs are rambunctious and quite often like Garrett's home. And so if we do have friends over, it's more of like our couple friends. And this was the first time I've had a friend come over like this. And like, it seriously did something to like the dopamine receptors in my brain. It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It was kind of magical, to be honest. And she probably doesn't even like know that it did this to me. Brooklyn is the same age as Lily. They are 6 months apart. Lily's my little sister, if you are new here, but Lily and her 6 months apart. Lily's born in July. Brooklyn was born in January. And so like to me, it kind of felt like Lily was over. It felt like my little sister was over. So I love that. Although Lily, you can never be replaced. It was fun to sit and chat, but we were over analyzing everything. We were, you know, having our own opinions, obviously, on these women's lives. And like Taylor's mother, we are so appreciative of our mothers because our mothers, although I don't know what I would do if I had a child. You know what? No, I'll tell you what I would do. I would be supportive. And if my mom was commenting, Stephanie, I hope you're listening. If my mother, she would never do this, was commenting her true opinion on social media, I would block. I would have to block. I would have to set boundaries. I would cut. I could not do that because it is one thing to have your mother parent you, right? Like, I know my mom will tell me the truth. I know my fathers will tell me the truth. But you know what they don't do? They don't do it on public television. Hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that the Golden Hour Drip podcast has a monthly newsletter. You'll find podcast updates, upcoming events and information, and bonus content. If you haven't already, click the link in the show notes and join today. Now, back to the show. And they don't post things in a mean girl manner. Like I saw this thing on social media. It was the girls who can have like a proper relationship with other girls, instead of like mean girl, I'm not a girl's girl. The girls who can have like the regular relationship or can hold friendships for extended periods of time, their mother was a good mother. Like they parented their daughter. And if you look at women who are catty or tear other women down or truly not a girl's girl, if you like look at their mother's parenting style, their mother more than likely saw their daughter as competition and not as an extension of themselves or as like offspring, but instead like, we are in competition, and they will like tear their daughter down or say like, oh, like you think you can wear makeup, like you're so ugly, like just really, really vile things. And I kind of think that Taylor's mother might be viewing her, and I know there's like religion that plays a huge part in it. And I don't want to obviously like say that this is someone's real life, obviously. But for me, like my mother, I know that my mother does not see me as competition. My mother has always brought me up. She always wants me to do better than her. She wants me to be a great person. She wants me to be well-rounded. She wants the best for my relationship, right? Like if Garrett and I had first started dating and maybe I'd broken up with someone, right before Garrett and I started dating, my mother, like I cannot imagine having someone who's supposed to be on your side and like in some ways her calling the other individual in mom talk. This is not maybe it's a spoiler. I don't know. Continue listening on your own risk. But when Whitney didn't go to the baby shower, Leanne called, like Taylor's mother called and was like, hey, Whitney, like this is Tay's mom. Like, why aren't you here? To me, like on one hand, you might think, okay, like her mom was defending her, like defending Taylor. But for me, it was like a way that Taylor's mom was able to be in the drama and have the spotlight on her. And also I would die if my mother did that to me. Like, I don't know. Like, and so with that was like a side note. Sorry. No judgment on her mother. A little judgment. Sorry. I don't know. Like that's a family dynamic thing. Like watching reality TV, like I was saying in the beginning, watching family dynamics, watching how something plays out. And of course, everybody's going to have an opinion on someone's life when they're put on social media. But like, me forming my own opinion about it, that is fun to me, right? Like seeing how others react in the situation. I know it's curated. I know it's a production, but to be able to like have discussion over it or to talk with Brooklyn or talk with my friends, right? Like I went to a watch party for the Golden Gal Network. We watched the Chiefs and guess what came up in conversation? Moms, or mom talk, right? Like the Mormon moms. We talked about it. Okay. I like that. I think that's fun. But as I'm like looking at these moms who are either, in a stage right before me where they're a couple years younger, but ultimately they all have children. That's not a stage that I'm in yet. And so I'm like not only their age, but also like where they are in their life. I know that's something that is like I'm looking to, right? And so when I'm looking at these moms who are in my same like age range, I think, oh my gosh, like, how are they handling this situation? How are they doing this? Of course, their lives are totally different in the fact that they are like Mormon. But with Taylor in the very first episode, again, continue listening at your own risk. With Taylor in the beginning, there is like a situation where she's arrested for domestic violence. And as we're sitting there, I was like, man, like that is, and she even says like that was her rock bottom. She's glad that she got arrested because she was able to like look at the situation and like kind of wake up from some of the behaviors that she had been doing. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, oh my gosh, like for me, always been a rule follower, always been like very to the T. And that's like something that I've been like trying to break out of, like not being so people pleaser-esque, like not caring what other people's opinions are, instead like putting my wants and my desires at the forefront and not just like bending to everybody's ask. Because when I say, and you can listen to last Friday's episode, when I say yes to someone, I am saying no to something that I actually might be wanting to do. But as I am watching this, I think for myself at 17, 18, I was petrified to be arrested. MIPs, maybe I got a parking ticket at college, forgot to pay it, like anything. But like MIPs were the biggest, right? Minor in possession, having alcohol underage. And although like I'm not a big drinker or anything in that aspect, it would be like talked about like, oh, it's on your permanent record, or like driving. And if you speed over a certain amount, like you could get your license taken away and be arrested, right? Like those were the things in the forefront of my mind as 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, woo, no MIPs anymore. But to look at it, it was like, okay, to me, like getting arrested, like as a child, you're like, oh yeah, like I was young and dumb. And although like 20, 25, 30 is still like relatively young, I just think, oh my gosh, like I cannot imagine having 2 children and being very close to 30 and being arrested. Like, I just think that is crazy. And I'm so happy that like I'm only on episode 2. Okay. Like I'm about to watch episode 3 tonight. But I think, I mean, nobody wants to break the law. Everybody wants to be a good citizen, right? And mistakes are made, and I'm not going to hold any judgment on her for anything. Like she has her own growth, her own journey, but to just like look at it, I kept saying to Brooklyn, like they are my age, like the things that they are doing, like having children or like getting arrested. Like to me, I just, it's kind of crazy to just like sit with that feeling of, hey, you know, like I might be disappointed in like where I am, like for my personal growth, or like where I'm going, or where I have gone, right? I actually, when I was driving to Kansas City, I missed my exit, and I took a route that I used to take every day for work when I was starting out in college. And as I drove past my old workplace when I was like so young, I was like 22 at the time. Not that young, still young, but looking at 21, 22, I just remember like my confidence levels. I remember like being taken advantage from like a financial standpoint at that time. My time was taken advantage of. Like there's so many things that like I absolutely would not stand for anymore. And that is where like I am so appreciative of the growth that I've had, and being able to say like, yeah, I am 4 years post-grad. I am 4 or 8 years from high school. Because I think with age, like it definitely, you have experiences, you get to have the maturity that comes with it. And, you know, in 10 years, Taylor's going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, like I was arrested at 28, 29. And then now this is how far I've grown and everything, because I truly, right? Like this podcast is very growth mindset oriented. I talk about my life. I sit down with you, chat about my struggles and what I'm going through. But I honestly believe that we can always be moving forward and we can grow. It does not matter where you're at right now. You can always pivot. You can always adjust. And I think that for Taylor as well, like she can always pivot. She can always adjust. And I'm still in awe of her. Like I have the highest regard for her. You can say what you want, but she had a dream. She wanted a reality television show. Took her 2 years, and then she made it happen, even with being arrested, right? Like it says like in episode 1, it's like 8 months later for episode 2. I just like choked on my own spit. That's how crazy it is. Like she had this dream. Oh my gosh, I'm about to choke. So sorry, not editing that out either, because if you listen to my September 2nd episode, it was an absolute show. But I had like so many things go wrong. My dogs bark, everything. And I was very, very inspired by Sam Taylor for not editing out her coffee sips. I think that is inspirational. So when I sit down to record, I sit down and record the entire thing. Okay. I don't cut. I don't snip. It's me and you talking candidly. Okay. When I first started recording episodes, like my first couple episodes, I would stop and start and cut things out. No. That's also growth, baby. Like looking back from when I first started this podcast and like growing into the confident podcaster I am now, to just be able to like sit down, chat. Of course, I have a theme. Of course, I have ideas on what I want to do. But to be able to just like sit down and record and not have to worry about like, oh, how did I say that? What did that sound right? Or if I mispronounce words or whatever it is, like I'm able to just like move forward in that. So I'm sorry, I coughed a little bit. But looking at Taylor and like the amount of growth she had on social media is crazy. And to also know that she had this vision, she wanted this thing and she made it happen. Of course, like the other members of Mom Talk, like they did their thing. They worked really hard too. And of course, like, all together as a group, but the scandals, right? Like the arrest, the soft swinging, all of those things, it truly propelled the conversation about Mom Talk. And I think it's kind of funny to think of those like scary or really uncomfortable situations sometimes can help pivot you into the direction that you want to be going, or not even want to be going. Sometimes it's like the universe self-correcting for you. And so I think back to like I was saying when I drove past my old workplace, and I remember thinking like, and truly when I worked there, it was the worst time of my life. I was experiencing panic attacks. I was isolated, and it was a really, really scary time. And I remember thinking in those moments, like it cannot get any worse. Like I've never felt this way before. I hadn't ever experienced anything like that. It truly like changed my day-to-day life. And as I like reflect on that, I realized it was because I needed to stop putting other people's opinions or like wants or needs. I need to like grow a little bit of a backbone and put some boundaries in place. And so although it was like the worst time in my life, I know that it helped pivot me and move me into the direction that I was meant to be. Because if I hadn't experienced some of that like turmoil, if I hadn't experienced like this terrible thing, like it was horrible. And you might have had a time in your life where it was absolutely atrocious. And I will never say, like, I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone, right? Like any bad thing that happens to you, like, I don't wish that you had to experience that. I wish that you were able to just like live a beautiful, happy life. Like that is my wish to you. But like that moment, if I wouldn't have gone through that, And I choose to assign positivity to the bad things that happen to me, because to me, like, I don't want my pain to like go in vain. So I look at it and think, oh my gosh, like, if I wasn't struggling so much, I might not have been so committed to my podcast, because that was something that regularly happened every week. I posted on Mondays. And so that kept me on track. Like, I had to get up, I had to record, because it was a commitment I made for myself. Because I felt so isolated, I knew that I wanted friends. And it developed into my meetups. I host multiple meetups in a month, and I have met some really, really amazing people. And I think, oh my gosh, like, when I was going through all of those like tough times, I didn't realize, because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, like, why can't I be how I was? Why can't I be this happy-go-lucky girl that I was in high school? Why can't I be this like busybody that I was in college? And I kept comparing it to the past. I was like, man, like, I wish things would go how they were. To not have experienced that, I wouldn't be able to like have the beautiful memories that have been created in the last couple of years. Like, I have had some of the best days of my life post this traumatic thing, like post this really, really hard period in my life. And you might be going through something that's like really painful in this moment, or maybe you've just came out of that season, or maybe you can remember this for if you have a bad season coming up. You will not feel that way forever. And some of your best days will still be in front of you. We cannot even fathom the relationships that we will have. We cannot predict the future. We cannot see what like is in store for us. So to you, it might be reality TV. To you, you might think that Taylor or any of the other mothers are, shallow, or they worry too much about plastic surgery, or they are getting Botox, or whatever you might think. To me, they are inspirational. They're putting their life on social media. I cannot imagine having details of like my relationship in the aspect that like Taylor did, or when she got arrested immediately, like the photos were online. Like, I cannot imagine how scary or like out of control she might have felt, right? Like in those moments, because this was in 2022. And so to think about like all of those things and how she came out of it, like to tell herself like in the past, like, oh my gosh, like you don't even know what is coming amazing and beautiful for you, right? Like when she was going through her divorce, she could not see her future baby with Dakota, good or bad, like whatever you think, like that's still a child. That's still like her baby that she would have never got to have if she was still in her original relationship. So I just think that the world is always working out for you. Like you cannot see your greatest days. And that also means we can't foreshadow the tough days. We cannot foreshadow the things that are going to be so mind-blowingly hard, right? We can only do what we can in the moment. And so for me, like I'm really, really grateful for the space that I'm in right now. And I know things will be pivoting, like things are already changing. I can feel it. It's like the anticipation for fall. We're only like a few, like 2 weeks out from the first day of fall. And so I am trying to just like